the demise of High Chief Raymond Anthony Aleogho Dokpesi, PhD, DSc, FNSE, OFR. The Senate note, we grieve the demise of High Chief Raymond Anthony Aleogho Dokpesi, founder, Chairman Emeritus of DAAR Communications, on Monday, 29 May 2023, in Abuja at the age of 71 years. The Senate is aware that Engineer Aleogho Dokpesi was born on the 25th October 1951 in Ibadan, Oyo State. He hails from Agenebode in Isako East Local Government of Edo State. He started his early education in Loyola College, Ibadan, and Immaculate Conception College, Benin City. The Senate also aware that in 1969, he proceeded to the University of Warsaw, Gdynia in Poland, for his bachelor, master, and doctorate degree, respectively. He graduated with a first-class degree in marine transport engineering and was the best graduating student in the University of Poland. He is a fellow of Nigerian Society of Engineers 2019, Chartered Institute of Transport 1991, Nigeria Institute of Management 1992, Nigeria Institute of Shipping 1989, the Nigeria Institute of Public Relations 1988, and the Institute of Transport Administration UK 1985. The Senate observed that Dokpesi's first business, Africa Ocean Lines, was the first indigenous shipping line in Africa and was established in 1980s. Although the business did not last long, it contributed to the Nigerian shipping industry as it helped to formulate the Nigeria Shipping Act Decree 1986, which started the sharing formula 40-20-20 for cargo between developed and developing countries. The Senate records that in the early 90s, when the Nigerian media was dominated by government media only, he entered the Nigerian mass media industry with his company, DAAR Communications, and established the first independent radio station, Ray Power FM, in 1993, and the first global satellite television station, Africa Independent Television, AIT, in Nigeria in 1996. The Senate is aware that on the 20th September 2003, Africa Independent Television launched its signals in the United States. Presently, AIT is received in America, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Europe-wide on the hotbed satellite, as well as countries within Africa. The Senate note that Dr. Raymond Aleogho Dokpesi also had his hand in politics. One of his first political assignments was as a political campaign manager to Alhaji Bamanga Tukur, who saw him into the then Gogora State Government House as governor. He was then appointed as chief of staff to the governor in 1983. Dokpesi was one of the leaders of South-South People's Assembly, SSPA, an organization that seeks to promote the South-South people's interests in Nigeria. In 2017, Dokpesi contested for the PDP national chairmanship position, but was not successful. The Senate also notes that he holds the following chieftaincy titles / awards: High Chief Ogeruma of Wepawano 1986, Araba of Osoro Land in 1987, Bobaniyi of Ile Ekiti, Ezomo of Wepawano Kingdom, Dr. Nkrumah African Leadership Award, and the Gold Medal for Excellence in Business Practice Award. A recipient of Institute of Directors a Patrimonial Award, IOD 2007. The Senate is aware that he is an eminent and committed leader, a perfect gentleman, a media guru, a nationalist, a philanthropist. His contribution to democracy and good governance through his media outlets remain unparalleled and will make his footprint indelible in the sand of time. And regrets that his demise is a great loss to his family, DAAR Communications, good people of Uwanu Kingdom, government of Edo State, and Nigeria in general, accordingly resolve: 1. Observe a minute silence in his honor. All the federal government to immortalize him. Send a delegation to condole his family, DAAR Communications, and the government and people of Edo State.
Mr. President, with very heavy hearts, I want to join my colleagues, particularly those of us who have gone to pay condolence visits to the family of High Chief Raymond Aleogho Dokpesi, PhD. Mr. President, if Senator Aleogho had come under regular motion, I know virtually all our colleagues here want to lend their own voices to the personality that has transited in High Chief Raymond Dokpesi. But we from Edo, the Edo caucus, here in the Senate, we are equally touched, even though immediately it's from the constituency of Senator Francis Alimikela, that is Edo North. For us in the state, and indeed Nigeria, High Chief Raymond Dokpesi was common. He was all over the place. He was a great patriot. One of the highest innovators you can ever think in contemporary times. The first African to own a private television and radio station in this country. From nothing to something humongous. High Chief Raymond Dokpesi died at the age of 71 years. Only a few weeks ago, those of us who had the privilege were met during the campaigns. You could see all that he put in because he's a great patriot. High Chief Raymond Dokpesi transited, in fact, went through the political landscape in Nigeria. He didn't have any enemy. Today, we talk of progressives in Nigeria that are all over, both in the PDP, in the APC, in Labour, all the parties. There is there is no practicing politician in Nigeria today that will say High Chief Raymond Dokpesi was not a personality that was liked by all. Today is a great loss to this country. We couldn't just believe it that he has left at the primest of time. Mr. President, I want to particularly join on behalf of the people in Edo South and entire district. Join my brother, my colleague, and my friend, Senator Francis Alimikela, to convey our deepest condolences to the people, to the family, and the people of Edo North, and indeed the people of Edo State and Nigerians in general. It's a loss, irreparable loss to this country. I just believe that there's nothing that can fill the void created by the transition of High Chief Raymond Dokpesi. We are pained. It's a huge loss to Nigeria and Africa.
I join my other colleagues in condoling the family and people of Edo State of High Chief Dokpesi. He was the first to bring a big ocean liner in Nigeria, and he was the one with his wife who taught me how to do shipping. I'm going to lose it because he brought the African Ocean Line with General Yaradua, MK Abiola, and Bamanga Tuku. I learned how to do shipping from Chief Dokpesi and the wife. So I believe it's a big loss, and we go to the same church also. And he's a man of high quality, high charisma, a man of honor, a man who has worked so much in the media world. So I believe that all of us will meet again. Good night, High Chief Dokpesi. May God bless your soul wherever you are.
One thing we must say about High Chief Aleogho Dokpesi is the fact that he was a trailblazer. And as we look forward today, where we are all during this plenary session, covered by all the many media houses here, if not for his boldness in asking for dissemination of information in Nigeria, we probably would not have this, since he was the very first person that pioneered private telecommunication, private radio, private television in Nigeria. And for that, we must at all times always remember Raymond Dokpesi as the man that stood forward for Nigeria and gave us one of the key ingredients of democracy, which is freedom of information. And like I said, and joining Senator Ojus Okalo to say good night, because good men like him, they are very, very rare. And now that his own has come and gone, may God accept his soul.
It was a shocking news to hear about the death of Chief Raymond Dokpesi. I got to know him more when I was the president of the NUJ, and AIT then was at Agenebode. And I recall a lot of battles that Raymond Dokpesi fought to keep AIT alive. AIT, as we all know it today, irrespective of how you look at it, it is a balancing force in the media. Raymond Dokpesi was a great Nigerian. He was a man with a large heart, always smiling and ready to listen to people. He's a fine Nigerian. He's a man that we never thought he would depart so soon. Raymond Dokpesi is a man who is ready to listen to people, and he's a Democrat that believes in the unity of this country. Raymond Dokpesi is a man that is that cut across the length and breadth of Nigeria. There's hardly a state that you will not have reason to believe that Raymond Dokpesi is from that place. Is that we're talking about those he went to school with, those who were in the media, his associates, in all spheres of life. He's a man that this country is going to miss greatly. And my prayer is that his children and those who are left behind will continue to manage the empire, the AIT and the Ray Power Station. Raymond Dokpesi contributed in no small measure in the growth of broadcast journalism in Nigeria. In fact, when he came on board, it was a new dimension to broadcasting in Nigeria. And I'm sure my colleagues in the media will attest to it that the departure of Chief Raymond Dokpesi was a great loss to the media practitioners in Nigeria, to the Nigerian nation, and indeed to Africa. May his soul rest in perfect peace.
Mr. President, I rise to join my colleagues in mourning our brother and our friend, High Chief Dr. Raymond Aleogho Dokpesi. I called him Araba when he was alive, and also the jinx breaker, because he broke the jinx when he brought the African Ocean lines. He also broke the jinx when he brought DAAR Communications and the AIT. Dr. Dokpesi was a true Democrat. He lived for human beings. He lived for people. He was a great believer in the ingenuity of human beings to recreate themselves and look within them and bring out the best out of them. Because of that, he invested in so many human beings. Dr. Dokpesi wanted Nigeria to be a place where everybody would have a first class in whatever he was doing, whether he was a mechanic or he was a tailor or whatever he was. He wanted you to bring out the best in you, and so he invested in human beings. He has been a backbone of so many individuals and so many governments in this country. He also was a very, very useful part of my party, the People's Democratic Party, where he played major roles in uniting the party and bringing everybody to understand that democracy is about the people. I believe Dr. Dokpesi has gone home to rest. I think it's a deserved rest. He left too early, though. May his soul rest in peace, and may God grant the wife and the children fortitude to bear his loss. Sleep well, Araba.
This great Nigerian, committed Democrat, an engineer of ideas, a husband, a father, a lover of this nation, and a man, though an Edo man, but is loved and appreciated by the rest of Nigerians. Mr. President, life to me is an inexplicable pattern of mystery. For no man knows when he will die, and no man knows when he was born. But what is in between when one is born and when one dies is a journey, and is a record. Most big question we do ask ourselves is, what shall we be remembered for? Today I've heard most of my colleagues speak about this great patriot and what he represents in this nation. But mine is to salute the spirit of Raymond Dokpesi. Ordinarily, I don't salute men, but I salute the spirit that pioneers the life of such great men. The spirit of Raymond Dokpesi, which I today speak about, is such a high, healthy, generous, and noble spirit, which prizes honor more than life and glory more than wealth. Raymond Dokpesi was not concerned so much about the earthly things. He wanted to make impact in humanity, and he chose to serve humanity through his AIT, which of course is not a profit-oriented business. But he did that to create awareness. That's the man of Raymond Dokpesi. Mr. President, it is obvious that he's such a highly spirited man, a generous man, who considers the less privileged and the plight of others, a man of large heart who easily forgives. My last encounter with him was when he visited the Rochas Foundation College, Owerri. When he walked in and saw these children, he was half teared. And he said to me, "My brother, God bless you for what you are doing." I mean, it takes a rare person of such large-heartedness to think about the less privileged. But today, he is no more with us. We celebrate him. But the question before us is that anytime a great man dies, we must ask ourselves also, what can we be remembered for? Mostly in life, in our checkered history, people are selfish in their living. And when they leave this world and die, nobody remembers them. So it's also a clarion call on those alive that one day, this journey of earth will come to an end. Because for every life, there must be a death. And so Dokpesi has lived his life, a wonderful life, and he died at such an early age of 71 years old. I wish he's alive to contribute more. But one thing that stood him out as a politician, Democrat, was when he supported Audley, he put his life to it. When he supported Babanga Tukru, he was with him 100%. When he was supporting Atiku, he was all into it. He's not into this business of moving from one place to other for self-aggrandizement. But he believes he's a principled man. And so every politician should throw this part of him that when you believe in a cause, you can die for a cause. And I once more wish his family God's guidance and to help them bear this irreparable loss. Definitely he will no longer be with us. And he should be remembered as Democrats. And I want to plead with those state governments and the NBC, National Broadcasting Commission, to so remember this man and honor him with a building somewhere so that this great name does not pass away.
Let me just thank all of our colleagues who contributed to, I like to call it a eulogy, it's not a debate, pretty much the eulogy. And I also like to adopt all of your contributions as mine. Let me just briefly point out too that Senator Chief Dokpesi was a good man, was a great guy. In my own little interactions with him, in 2019, when the Senate President and I ran for the leadership of this Senate, he was very, very good to us. He was very, very gracious to us. The Dokpesi I knew was like water. He had no enemies. Yes, listening to the contributions, the highlights and the contributions he made to the campaigns of PDP leaders, but Dokpesi was beyond politics. He was beyond political parties. He was just a great guy. We're going to miss him. He was a blessing to us in the South-South, a blessing to us as Nigerians. We all miss him. Having said that, let's look at the prayers. Prayer number 1 is observe a minute silence in his honor. Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. Prayer number 2, urge the federal government to immortalize him. Those in favor of this prayer say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. And prayer number 3 is to send a delegation to condole with his family, DAAR Communications and the government and people of Edo State. Who should send a delegation? Is it the Senate or the federal government? The Senate? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. Let's rise for 1 minute of silence. Of this great Nigerian patriot, Chief Raymond Anthony Aleogho Dokpesi, rest in perfect peace.
It's not just being sad, but very, very shocking. It's one person who, not because of political office he held, but because of his own ingenuity and creativity, impacted lives, trust human beings, trust people. And just all of a sudden, we just finished the inauguration of the president, and to hear that we have lost such a person, it's very, very devastating, especially to me. He meant so much to me. He has done so much for me. Immediately I left office, he's the person, when I lost election, that celebrated me in this compound, just to give me some hope that I still have friends even after losing election. And since I left office, whenever I have to do with media, AIT gives us maximum assistance. So, apart from the direct family people, the wives and the children, I think I'm one person who will miss Raymond Dokpesi.
We receive the demise of our brother, our friend, with great shock and great sense of loss, not only for the family, not for the DAAR organization, but for the good people of Edo State and Nigeria in general. We're all on this journey, and now we continue to pray that the Almighty God grant him peace, for his soul to rest in perfect peace, and that Almighty God will grant the family the fortitude to bear this great loss. this irreparable loss. May your soul rest in peace.
So how will you remember him?
You know, I became close to High Chief when I was governor of Kaduna State, and I was hosting the National Sports Festival. He contributed immensely. He took it upon himself as if he is the one hosting the whole sports. And his contribution made that event one of the best events ever hosted in Nigeria. This is one of the happenstances that I will always remember him. And I know him personally as a very good, caring person. May his soul rest in peace.
I actually called, to clarify something from Chief Ben Obi, and he told me the devastating story, which, like I said, I'm very, very shocked, because I never even knew that he had any form of illness or anything, so I was shocked to hear that. Chief is somebody I've known for a very long time. From my days in the banking industry, we supported AIT in different ways and everything. I've known him as a businessman, not actually before I got involved in politics, not as a politician. And because of his entrepreneurial spirit, AIT became the first communication facility or company that bought shares in. When he was quoted in his market, we were all excited at the future of it and everything. And I followed his entrepreneurial journey to date. And whenever we meet, we don't even discuss politics, we discuss business, only maybe recently. And he's fond of me. Even in his last outing, supporting to go back, he came to my house in Onitsha. We spent hours discussing Nigerian politics and everything, because they have always been committed to issues of good governance. And quite frankly, I can only say he's shocked, but we can't question God. Well, his entrepreneurial spirit, his caring, trying to make sure that everybody around him is happy. At least I know whenever I talk with him, he's always sure of caring, why can't we do this, why can't we do this? So, but we can't question God. I will only say, may God Almighty that called him home grant him eternal rest, and grant the family and all of us the fortitude to bear his very, very sad, irreplaceable loss.
I recall with sweet memories driving up here like 2003 for a series of interviews and chats then. I admire him and became close to him because he is one of the distinguished Nigerians who ventured into building institutions like the rest of us. Yeah, so it's about building institutions that I identify with him. He's a huge loss, really, to the country. I pray that he be rested in peace, the family be comforted, and from the family they should continue the good work he has done and even do better, because his ambition would, of course, to see that his progeny promotes his legacy.
Our path crossed as a young man in 1992, I believe, when he was the DG of the Tuko campaign. I never met him before. I used to hear of Raymond Dokpesi, but I never met him personally until politically we met. An incident happened in Asaba. Without knowing him, he stood firmly behind me because we were working together for the Tuko campaign. That's the kind of man he was. It doesn't have to know you. As long as you are suffering some form of injustice or oppression, he's someone who comes standing by you. And that was the hallmark of his life. In the
South. You can't talk about a louder voice than Zomo. He stood for our people. He worked for our people. He wanted the best for our people. He did that till through his last breath. In fact, when I heard yesterday that he died, I was shocked. Because last time I was here was just before the election. I came here. We had a meeting here. Wasn't sick. I never heard of anything that was wrong with him. So to hear that he just passed on was really, really a big shock for me. And I hope that his legacies will endure, because he was a fighter for justice. He lived for justice, and everything he did for justice. That is the best legacy I think he has left behind. Because at the end of the day, you can have all the material things, you can live a good life. If you don't stand for something, you will not die for something. He stood for justice, and that is how I remember him.
High Chief Raymond Dokpesi sets the pace for the media we have today in Nigeria. And the media in a very broad spectrum. Don't forget that before the television station, there was a radio station that had talents that spawned the music and Nollywood industry we have in Nigeria today. His foray into television also gave a platform to project Nigeria, not only locally, but globally. And beyond that, gave the impetus to others to follow his trend he has started, which was that you could have successful private sector participation in media, particularly in television in Nigeria. So he was a pace setter in all ramifications. He was a pace setter in the way he approached things of life. In his personal life, he was so broad-minded. He had a very, very, very large heart and contributed immensely to the local community. And hence, they honored him the way they did. So,
tremendous shock, because he survived COVID. The Lord led him and was fully, and even when they started the campaigns, he went around the whole of this country. So we are not expecting this at all. So we received the very, very sad news, tremendous shock. This is why all of us are terribly shaken by what has happened.
How will you remember him?
How
will you remember him? In what ways will you remember him?
So many ways. But first of all, we want to just thank God for a life like the life of Chief Dokpesi. He lived a life of love and compassion, a life of service to God and humanity, a life of great impact. He's someone who takes friends very seriously. I remember him as we worked together within the party in a number of dimensions, how he would listen with tremendous respect, humility, and honor, and how he would stand by decisions taken very, very firmly. He was a person of integrity, consistently good. He would never, ever allow a decision that has been collectively taken to be thrown unattended. Tremendous, very reliable, very dependable, very, very good. In fact, it's a huge loss to the entire nation. As I said in that word, it's a loss to Africa.
His politics was quite interesting. He was a man, once he takes a position, he will never ever waver from that position. He's a man of very deep thinking. He does his political calculations and sets them on, put them out before close friends, and try as much as possible to convince them to toe the line. And you'll be convinced because he will give you reasons. This is a man who was the first chief of staff in this country, politically appointed first chief of staff. Gongola State. Okay? And you saw in this immediate past politics, he started with believing it has to be Southeast. And he was unwavering on it. He was unwavering on it until he saw the PDP did their zoning and threw open. He decided to be on the side of the former vice president. He went to every zone of this country, canvassed aggressively for the vice president. Rounded the country up. In some places he went twice. And then came the primary of the PDP. It was just, it was lightning victory for Atiku Abubakar. This was as a result of the hard work put in place by no other person but High Chief Dr. Raymond Dokpesi. I see him as my senior brother. I see him as my confidant. We discuss things together. I can tell you, it's in this same residence, that we put the plans that brought down the third term. Yeah, this house. A lot of people will know that. But every night, 11 o'clock, I will be here from 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. to map out the strategy for the next day. Himself, late Professor Meke Nejere, and myself. And that was how we saw to the pulling down of that third term project. So we have lost, like I just said here, its final full stop, end of an era of generosity, era of love, era of kindness, era of humanity. That is the end of it. But I pray God to grant the family members the fortitude, and friends and associates the fortitude to bear this irreplaceable loss.
He represented more than just a politician. I think for us who have the privilege of working with him, we had the privilege of working with a thorough professional, a very committed, very dogged, very loyal partner in every effort, in every activity. He threw 100% of himself into it. And that was him, and that, I think, explains his success through life. So we admired him and his successes, his accomplishments, his pioneering efforts in the media industry. I think, but beyond that, I think we also recognize his love for nation and, of course, his integrity. We also respect the fact that he was a strong family man, and even within his empire, you could see some strong presence of the family. So he's a role model that a lot of people looked up to. So his loss is devastating, not just to us, but to the family, obviously, and obviously to his colleagues and, of course, the rest of the nation. He's irreplaceable.
This was a man that was before his time, a very visionary leader with a lot of guts, broke a lot of ground. For those of us that were coming behind him, we looked forward to just the next thing. His very presence exudes confidence, speaks to the future. This is really a very shocking loss. I mean, the most unexpected news of the year, I'm still in shock. I mean, coming into this compound today and looking around and just gauging the mood, the sadness, and the reality that this is actually not a dream is unbelievable. I'm gobsmacked. I don't know what to say.
It's a difficult decision to come by. Very, very difficult, to reconcile that High Chief Raymond Dokpesi is no more. For me, it's difficult. I don't know how to say goodbye. I don't know how to say goodbye because I believe he's still very much alive. I believe he's still very much with us. I have never seen, a friend, brother, uncle, father who has shown me so much love the way he did when he was alive. We quarreled the most, we settled the most. We are best of friends. They know, even in AIT. There is no way I cannot meet Ezomo in his bedroom, office, even when they are holding board meetings. I have that access to go in, grab him out and tell him something I want to tell him. We've related very, very closely for donkey years, and come here to even write, leave a note on the condolence register is to me like tearing me apart with a blunt saw. I can't reconcile it, that's just the truth. But when things happen, you just got to appreciate God that no matter who we are, our final destination is death, and we'll be lowered to Mother Earth someday, sometime. And you don't know the time, because the family still saw him yesterday, woke up, watched television, was watching inauguration on TV and all that, only for him to go and say he wants to do exercise in his gym, and the rest is now history.
What will you remember him for?
Remember Ezomo for so many things. How many will I say? I will remember him as a man whose devotion to hard work, diligence, perseverance, resilience, and commitment is unparalleled. I remember when we went to Sierra Leone to set up the AIT in Sierra Leone. For 17 days, we were on our toes. None of us could sleep for 2 hours because Ezomo will always be on the seat. We were signing documents, we were printing. He will go with us to business center. He will sit with us because he wanted that AIT to come on air. 2 weeks at that time, when Bai Koroma was the president of Sierra Leone, and he wanted to give them an alternative voice in Sierra Leone, and he struck it within 2 weeks. Within 2 weeks, we got it right on air. So it's a man who does not believe that there's no road somewhere. If there is a mountain around anywhere, he say, let's go around the mountain. That is him. His sense of commitment is unparalleled. I have worked with him severally as a friend, as a brother. Even though politically we disagree, but he would respect me for my views. He will always respect me for that. I don't want to even come to terms with the fact that he's no more, because I'm still seeing his image looming large in front of me. But God knows why at this time. May his soul, his generous soul, his gentle soul, his humanitarian soul rest in the hereafter. And I know God will grant him a perfect resting place. I know that.
It's more than just losing a political associate or somebody we know. His family, he used to drive his younger children to my house personally several times to play with my own children. My children will come here and he will bring them back himself. So it's a very close relationship, apart from our political and institutional relationships. In the South-South, he was one of the founders of South-South People's Assembly and was a great politician at that level. Besides that, at national level, we did a lot of things together on how to keep this country strongly together. So it's a big loss.
You may not know, Raymond Dokpesi was my PA. We worked in the same office. And I found him one of the most intelligent human beings. And we worked together very well. I was then a coordinator of transport, Ministry of Transport. He was Post Authority, but I took him from the Post Authority with Bamanga Tuku agreement, and we worked together in the ministry. Eventually, he returned to Post Authority. We have had a long working relationship. I learned from him, even though he's my younger brother, much younger. But I really enjoyed working with Raymond Dokpesi.
He was such a man who was passionate about a new Nigeria, the betterment of this country, and to lift people who are up. I remember leading to 2012, we began to talk about how to restructure Nigeria, make it a great place. And it came at the center, strategizing, moving from one place to the other, why some of us were building movement that would galvanize the momentum for the national conference. He paid whose sacrifice to see that the national conference 2014 came to fruition. That was the first close work we did together. I think at that time it was the South People's Assembly, and we were leading pro-national conference organization under the leadership of Chief Anthony Aleogho and Professor Olishoyinka. Later, we met again on the field. In any case, June 12th mandate, we are in restoring the June 12th mandate, we had met at that time, and then it was part of that restoration of the mandate. But finally, what he did in achieving electronic transmission of results, he was quite instrumental, because there was a major conference which he co-sponsored with Atairu Jega, Ulisa Bakuba, Patu Tomi, and all of us gathered together in Abuja. And it was that conference that ensured that the legislature changed gear and accepted and gave Nigeria that electronic transmission of result. He gave us 5 hours of airtime for that conference. So he's a great man who lived a great life, and his life is worth emulating. He will be greatly missed.
He is beyond the country. He is an African. He's a black man of the black race that has achieved a lot, especially in the area of journalism and entrepreneurship. We in the country, and especially in the PDP family, have lost a great man. He has been a very, very loyal and a dedicated person since I came to know him, and quiet and positive at all times. But we all come from God, and to him we shall return. All we can do now is to continue to pray for him, and also to continue the good work that he has started, which will never die. His footprints will never be erased in this country and in Africa and the world in general. Yes, I've had personal relationship with him, especially since I became chairman of the National Caretaker Committee, and that relationship throughout since that time up to the moment that he returned to the good Lord has been very, very cordial, respectful, and I've never seen him getting angry or annoyed, no matter what you say to him. He was addressing issues, not personal matters. And he contributed a lot to the stability of the party. He made a lot of contribution by giving airtime, airspace for the PDP to grow. He made a lot of airtime to our presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, and all those who are promoting his candidature. So that's the kind of relationship we had, and it's something we cannot forget.
High Chief Raymond Dokpesi, you can say, has been virtually everything to a number of us. Our path crossed over 40 years ago, and since that time we have consistently become friends and close associates. And I cannot but continue to admire his sagacity. He probably came before his time, and when you look at his pioneering spirit, his boldness, his braveness in all ramifications, you can see clearly that it's not just a personal loss, it's a national loss. And I'm not so sure for some time to come we will have this kind of personality coming around. But in all of this, we thank God for his life, and we have no doubt in our mind that God will continue to preserve and protect his family. I pray that the legacies he left behind is properly supported.
Indeed, he was a great friend, a friend indeed. Both of us had our own, during the downtown, we're together, and we spent a lot of time together, reminiscing on a lot of good things to do with the country, the nation, moving forward. But most of all, he was a great mentor to millions of youth. He was a jovial man, amiable, humble, very reachable, and he played his own part. He was easily, always able, always ready to advise people and to be with friends and people. I'm greatly saddened. Our prayers will be with him. What will I remember him for? Incidentally, I remember him with something very funny. When I was the National Public Secretary of the PDP and we lost the election, he did something to re-engineer the party. So we in the NWC, trying to protect our own territory, were totally against him. So we refused. Then he came to the office and he had a meeting with me. When I listened to him, I knew we had to allow him to do it. He did the first seminar, the first conference that we had after we lost the election, and it was a huge success. He pioneered the regeneration, the reorganization of the PDP in 2015 when we lost the election. He was a great man, very great man, and he was ever ready to serve the nation as well.